Christian Bale is, above all things, a versatile actor. He's not just the guy that played Batman in 3 of the best superhero films ever made. Bale refuses, and so far has avoided, typecasting. Much like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's able to play a wide range of characters in a number of movies. And it all started when he was young. Really young, actually. Bale didn't get his start in a feature film, but rather a TV film, 1986's Anastasia, The Mystery of Anna. This was an extremely important role for Bale, not because of the reception, which seemed alright, but because his co-star was Amy Irving, who, at the time, was married to Steven Spielberg. His first feature film appearance was in Mio in the Land of Fantasy, based on a novel, Mio My Son, by Astrid Lindgren. The movie was poorly received and is now mostly forgotten, but the same year he appeared in Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, thanks to Amy Irving suggesting him based on his performance in Anastasia. Still, it wasn't a sure thing. More than 4,000 actors auditioned for the role. This is the start of Bale's versatility, his ability to play almost anyone under the sun. In Empire of the Sun, he played Jim Graham, a British boy whose life in the Shanghai International Settlement during World War II is uprooted when he becomes a prisoner of war in a Japanese internment camp. The film did well commercially and critically, with Bale receiving praise for his performance. So much so that the National Board of Review for Motion Pictures, now 114 years old, gave Bale their Best Performance by Juvenile Actor Award, a category that was created just so they could give it to him. His next film was Henry V, where he had a small part. Still, the movie has lost none of its luster in the 30-plus years since its release. Rather, it's considered one of the best Shakespearean films ever made, directed by a 29-year-old Kenneth Branagh who played the titular Henry. 1992's Newsies showed that Bale could do musicals as well. The film went unappreciated at the time of its release, bombing at the box office and with critics, though it not only gained a cult following later in life, but was also adapted as a Broadway play that went on to be nominated for more than half a dozen Tony Awards. The 1990s were something of a paying your dues decade for Bale. He was in several films, most of them dramas. Some of them were successful, and nearly all of them were small, independent films. That's something of a constant in Bale's filmography. Take a look at it, and you notice that there aren't a lot of 9-figure budget movies. Only Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, Terminator Salvation, Exodus, Gods and Kings, and Thor, Love and Thunder, or 6 movies out of around 50, have budgets in excess of $100 million. Most of them fall between the $5 million and $75 million range. A wide range to be sure, but mostly mid-budget films. You get the distinct sense that Bale is one of those actors that acts because he enjoys the craft, not just the money. His most interesting roles in the 90s were 1994's Little Women, a commercial success that was hailed as one of the best movies of that year, 1995's Pocahontas for Disney, a critical and commercial success, 1997's Metroland, a moderately well-reviewed if commercially unsuccessful comedy drama, 1998's All the Little Animals, a moderately well-reviewed drama where he acts opposite John Hurt, and 1999's A Midsummer's Night Dream, another Shakespearean adaptation. The 2000s and 2010s are really Bale's time to shine, and where he does the work we know him best for. It's also when he starts to get famous for the transformations that he puts his body through, from losing more than 60 pounds from his normal weight of 185 to weigh in at 120 for 2004's The Machinist, to putting on 40 pounds from his normal weight to weigh in at 225 for Vice. But all of that gets started with his first performance of the new millennium as Patrick Bateman in 2000's American Psycho. Based on Bret Easton Ellis's novel of the same name, the film, Once Upon a Time, was considered unfilmable. Mary Harron proved that notion to be untrue and made a masterwork that has remained in the public consciousness to a far greater degree than its $34 million box office would suggest. The production of American Psycho deserves a video of its own, but suffice it to say that Bale took the role of Patrick Bateman to heart. Screenplay writer Guinevere Turner said that Bale, quote, became completely ripped, super tan, got his teeth turned into perfect American teeth. I think he said he was modeling himself after his lawyer or his agent or Tom Cruise, an amalgam of those, end quote. Despite being in the film industry for more than a decade, Bale wasn't exactly famous. It's why the studio approached other actors, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Edward Norton, Ewan McGregor, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and more. Heron, however, would keep coming back to Bale. Thankfully, in the end she won out, though not before getting fired and then coming back. But again, that's another video. In the end, Bale was paid $50,000, something Lionsgate would turn out to be happy for. The film was, as everyone figured, polarizing, which, I suppose, is the mark of a great work. Roger Ebert described Bale as, quote, heroic in the way he allows the character to leap joyfully into despicability. There is no instinct for self-preservation here, and that is one mark of a good actor, end quote. The same year as American Psycho, Bale was in Shaft, which was a moderate critical and commercial success. In 2002, he was in a personal favorite of mine, Reign of Fire, which has Matthew McConaughey literally jump into a dragon's mouth. It wasn't a critical or a commercial success, but it was fun and plenty entertaining, which is what a movie should be first and foremost. In 2004, Bale played Trevor Resnick, a machinist whose insomnia has contributed to his emaciated appearance. Well received critically, Rotten Tomatoes critical consensus reads, quote, Brad Anderson's dark psychological thriller about a sleepless factory worker is elevated by Christian Bale's astonishingly committed performance, end quote. It was most certainly a committed performance by Bale, who dropped more than 60 pounds for the role and weighed in at 120. He wanted to go further, but the filmmakers would not allow it. He achieved it by, according to his assistant, dieting on just, quote, water, an apple, and 1 cup of coffee per day with the occasional whiskey, end quote. It's even more impressive when you consider that after filming ended, he had just 6 weeks to get back into some sort of decent shape in order to screen test for Batman in Batman Begins. 2005's Batman Begins would be his next role, setting him up for widespread mainstream success. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, consisting of 2005's Batman Begins, 2008's The Dark Knight, and 2012's The Dark Knight Rises, helped reinvigorate not just Batman, whose last feature film portrayal was 1997's Batman and Robin, starring George Clooney and directed by Joel Schumacher, but it also helped reinvigorate the superhero movie, helping create the modern landscape of Hollywood. All three were wildly successful at the box office and with critics, and cemented Bale as a leading man from that point onward. While the Batman movies were some of his most expensive, lucrative, and successful, Bale has always focused on doing smaller, more intimate films. In 2005, he was in Terrence Malick's The New World and David Ayer's directorial debut, Harsh Times, which had a budget of just $2 million. In 2006, he was in Werner Herzog's Rescue Dawn and reunited with Christopher Nolan to star in The Prestige. In 2007, he added westerns to the wide variety of genres he'd worked in by starring in 3:10 to Yuma, as well as the musical drama I'm Not There. 2009's Terminator Salvation was an expensive critical failure and probably lost money, while Public Enemies, released the same year, did well. In 2010, he played former boxer Dickie Eklund in David O. Russell's The Fighter, which won him Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards and was a critical and commercial success. In 2013, he was in crime drama Out of the Furnace, which, like many of Bale's movies, got mixed reviews. The same year, he reunited with David O. Russell for American Hustle, a critical and commercial success that saw Bale put on weight yet again and get a Best Actor nomination, though he has yet to win it. 2014's Exodus: Gods and Kings is another film I enjoyed because Ridley Scott does epic films better than any director alive except James Cameron. Still, it was a critical and commercial flop. In 2015, he reunited with Terrence Malick for Knight of Cups. In 2015, he played Michael Burry in Adam McKay's masterpiece, The Big Short. Burry famously was one of the investors that foresaw the housing crash and Great Recession and made a fortune by trading credit default swaps. In 2016, he was in The Promise, a war drama. In 2017, Hostiles, a western. In 2018, he reunited with Adam McKay for Vice. And in 2019, he was in Ford vs. Ferrari, a phenomenal film where he plays British race car driver Ken Miles. He had no films between 2019 and 2021 and returned in 2022's Thor: Love and Thunder, which frankly wasted his potential as Gore the God Butcher. The same year, he was in Amsterdam, which is based on the business plot of 1933, a conspiracy to overthrow President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Most recently, he was in Netflix's Pale Blue Dot and has a voiceover role in Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron. Bale has one movie in development, The Church of Living Dangerously, where he plays Pastor John Lee Bishop, who became a drug runner for Mexican cartels. Christian Bale is an actor that is absolutely devoted to his craft to the point of putting his body through swings that could be dangerous. He is, without a doubt, one of the best actors of his generation and one of the best actors working today. However good the movie is, Bale is certain to give a fantastic performance. It makes sense that he considers Gary Oldman, another actor that goes through wild transformations, as one of his acting heroes. Bale, similarly, is sure to be a hero to future generations of actors. They would be hard-pressed to find someone better.